The mic
Wow,
wasn't on for the whole first verse. that's why, that's why like I'll always remember like, well, it wasn't I wasn't supposed to turn the mic on. Somebody else was. It came on during the chorus. So hello.
Hey, Brooke, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing well. I appreciate you doing this.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Of course.
How's everything sound and look?
Looks great. Sounds great.
Cool.
Love the room that you're in. Looks like you got a little you got a mic there, an amp, and some treatment on the walls. I love it.
Yeah, a desperate treatment because I live in like a Cape Cod style house. So there's like a million different angles in this room. And that's fun. Like kind of, it's like terrible for sound, but it's, yeah. So I just threw, styrofoam on the walls.
Did you have to like figure out where it was bouncing from to
I mean, I feel like
to put the foam?
I feel like the problem is like bass gets caught in corners. That's like a thing. I like had to learn all about this when I moved into this house, but I still haven't figured it out. So we'll see.
Well, it sounds great.
Okay, good. I got a little USB mic down here so I'm not relying on this.
Oh, okay. Well, it sounds great. However you have it. Yeah. Sometime with this mic, I know we're just going off on a tangent of nothing here, but like with the ones where it's like here,
yeah,
I've interviewed people with that. Not that you have a beard, but the people that have a beard, right. I just noticed your hair.
Or
like
just,
it'll be like half the interview, and I'm like, is there any way you can like? But obviously, it sounds awesome right now. But I appreciate your time today. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I'm Adam, and this is a podcast about you and your journey in music. And I want to talk about the album you have coming out next month.
Awesome. Sounds good.
Sweet. So first off, talk to me about where you're born and raised. What, Pittsburgh area? Is that what I saw?
Pittsburgh. Yeah. Just outside of Pittsburgh. That's where I grew up. Yeah.
Tell me about that. What was it like growing up in Pittsburgh?
I mean, there's a lot to sort of the growing up discovering music journey that happened in Pittsburgh because my grandfather and my uncle and just a bunch of my family was already like musicians. They were guitar players and in like live sound and stuff. So
oh wow.
Yeah.
So you just grew up with music surrounding you, it sounds like.
Kind of. Yeah. It was like my parents weren't musical. My dad was a sound engineer, but didn't do that full time as a living, like when I was growing up. So it was kind of like in my peripheral world. Like my grandfather tried to teach me how to play guitar when I was young, but I was like, I don't have the patience for this right now. But definitely that's what helped me gravitate towards it as I got older,
Yeah. Did he play he was just a hobby guitar player? Or it sounded like your uncles or somebody played professionally.
Yeah, he had like different like wedding bands and stuff like that. So it was like a thing he did. And then he taught lessons and he started a music store like out of his garage. So like when my mom was growing up, they had like a music shop basically out of their garage.
That's rad.
And then it turned into a shop that still exists today, and like a live sound component evolved from that. So like a lot of the like festival concerts that are in Pittsburgh, like they do the live sound setup for and stuff like that, which is really cool. Something that I'm pretty proud of.
For sure. So he still has the music shop to this day?
Well, he has since passed, but my uncle is now run the shop and my cousin. Whoa. So yeah.
Wow. So it's still in the family. Did you get your first instruments from that shop? And was it cool to kind of go there? Do you remember going there as a kid and being able to just pick up any instrument and screw around with it?
Yeah. So like my journey to guitar was like, I started writing lyrics when I was a kid and really loved it, and wanted to be able to write my own songs. So I was like, well, maybe I'll take guitar lessons. And so they offer guitar lessons at the shop. And I started taking guitar lessons around like 14. just with the sole purpose of like, I want to write songs. So just like teach me chords, teach me my favorite songs.
Just like as a vehicle to write, it sounds like. Yeah. You didn't want to be like some shredding guitar player.
Or like, I didn't want to like learn like Mary Had a Little Lamb, like
or
I don't
like
want to like
scales or anything like that. Teach me the basics and let me just go with it.
Yeah. So like every week I'd be going into the store and taking lessons and trying out different guitars and stuff. Like the first guitar I had was actually my grandfather's that I started learning on.
Wow.
So that was, it's like, it's almost like 20 years ago now. So I'm like trying to recall like what that, that was like.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah. Do you still have that guitar?
I don't. I think it's still in the family, but it was like, you know, I played that guitar for like a couple months before I got like my own first guitar. Like, let's see if this works out first before we get you one.
Sure. Before we spend any money. Got it. What was your first guitar? Did you get it at the shop?
I did. It was a Yamaha acoustic and it was blue. And it was blue because I loved Michelle Branch at the time and her guitar was blue.
I still love Michelle Branch.
Me too.
She got into some little scuffle. Did you see that the other day?
I didn't. No.
Oh yeah, she got arrested. Yeah,
oh my God,
I don't know.
Just
look it up. Something about slapping her ex-husband or something. I don't know. I don't know if it's true, but yeah, because she's married to Patrick Carney from Black Keys, and I don't know. It's just some tabloid story, but I saw it because she's from here. I'm in Nashville. I just moved here about a year and a half ago. But I was excited because she's playing Brooke Annibale with this other artist, Caitlin Tarver. And I was like, oh, cool. And then I saw something and I'm like, what does that mean about this? Like, is this tour still happening?
Oh man, I gotta look this up because I still listen to her, like her new stuff too.
Yeah, it just came through like the Tennessean, like I got like an alert on my phone. I'm like, Michelle Branch, what? Oh, and then who knows?
Oh man, to see.
Yeah. Oh, the tabloids. Anyway, so you love Michelle Branch. Amazing. Get the blue guitar.
You know, that was like who was like when I started playing guitar, that was like the time of like Michelle Branch and like Vanessa Carlton and Avril Lavigne and stuff. And those were like the first artists where I was like, oh, these women write songs. And I really, really liked that. So that's why I picked a blue guitar, which is not necessarily a natural color for wood.
Right. But that's cool that you have a blue guitar. You always know it's yours and it's unique.
Yeah.
In that sense. You said you were writing lyrics before that's why you wanted to learn guitar to come up with songs. Was that something you had done like early on? Like when did you become, creative? When did you start doing creative writing and writing lyrics?
Yeah, it's funny because like I just started doing it like when I was like in fourth or fifth grade, like just writing down lyrics and coming up with melodies and like singing those, to my mom or whoever would listen. And I just like that, some people gravitate towards sports or something. I also played a lot of sports, but like for some reason, songwriting is the thing that just came out of nowhere and stuck.
Yeah, just that's cool. There wasn't anything like, you talked about the women that you admired playing, but there wasn't like a moment that you're like, oh wow, I really want to start writing songs. It just kind of happened.
Yeah, it just was like, okay, I hear these melodies in my head and I really want to put them to music. And like I think I had a keyboard before I ever had a guitar and I didn't really know how to play it, but like there were all these like built-in like chord progressions that you could press. And then I would just write songs to those. And I was like, but this isn't really my song. Like I knew at that age, I was like, I can't just take these.
Oh, sure. You knew that you couldn't just record your own vocal and melody over top of something that it was pre-programmed into the little guitar or the keyboard. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. When did you write your first song? Like, was it fairly soon after learning some chords? It sounds like you already had lyrics and melodies together.
Yeah. I remember starting to take guitar lessons in the summer, like before high school. And by like the fall, I was like recording myself in my bedroom, little songs that I had written. So yeah, it was
what were you recording on? Like a little 4-track or something?
Yeah, my uncle gave me something from the shop that was like a little Boss, something that you had to like record into an SD card and then put into your computer and then burn it onto a CD to actually be able to hear it back, you know?
Oh, wow. So you couldn't even just play it back. You had to do some process.
I think you could play it back within the device, but you couldn't like play it on anything else.
Got it.
So yeah, once I got it on a CD, I was like, oh, this is awesome.
You were showing, it sounded like you were showing your parent or your mom the songs that you were writing and kind of singing along to before you even had the guitar. Was that something, once you started writing songs on guitar, was that something that just came natural as well, or were you like vulnerable to or worried about showing people these songs that you had been writing?
Yeah, I was definitely nervous to perform, but I always wanted to do it, which is why when I say like it was the thing that stuck, it's like everything else that I had tried as a kid, like any sports or hobbies or whatever, I was like, once it got to the point of like, okay, let's do this in front of people or compete or something, I was like, I don't know. And then with music, it was like, yeah, no, I want to do everything that I can to keep doing this. And yeah.
And what was your first thing? Did you do like a talent show or?
Yeah.
Which is always show. Which is okay. This is for me. I've said this before on this podcast. It's crazy to me because you're doing a talent show in front of all of your peers and everybody that you have to see at school from here on out. And where if you went to a coffee shop, then the chances of seeing these 15 people, 20, 30 people ever again is like so slim to none. But it's so interesting that people will go up and do their first show or first live thing they've ever done is in front of everybody that they're going to have to see pretty much until they graduate high school.
Totally. And my first talent show was because there were like 2 talent shows at my school and one was specifically for music. And so it was called 6-string, which was a little not all inclusive of like,
right. What if you had a ukulele or just the bass player?
Yeah.
Or a drummer. Yeah. Or a piano player.
Yeah. I never really thought about that until I said it out loud, but I was like, yeah, it was called 6-string. And I played a song that I wrote even, and the mic wasn't on for the whole first verse. That's why like, I'll always remember like, well, it wasn't I wasn't supposed to turn the mic on. Somebody else was. It came on during the chorus. So
you got warmed up.
Yeah.
Wow. So the chorus comes in and they're like, oh, okay. And then
no idea.
Wow. How did it go though? Aside from that little mishap?
I guess okay, because I kept doing it. I think I played at that, and there was a girl in the grade like above me that had been playing in these things, and I had seen her in them and was like, oh, that's so cool. I want to do what she's doing. And she was like, hey, I have a show at a coffee shop coming up. Do you want to like open the show? And I was like, oh my God, yes.
Wow.
So that was, never looked back.
How old were you were you in high school at this point? Or
yeah, I guess like I was like a freshman. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
That was this like spring of my freshman year. So I hadn't even been playing for like a year yet.
But you had a handful of songs, enough songs to go play a little set.
I remember I started playing that coffee shop myself, and I would like play the same 7 songs over again, or like a bunch of covers and like the a couple of songs I'd written.
And I did see that what was it, a senior project that you put out your first album?
Yeah. So
wow.
Got out of the, bedroom 4-track recording and went into a studio in Pittsburgh. And
what was that like? Were you intimidated at all?
A little, yeah. I mean, it's hard to remember what it felt like the first time that I was in the actual studio, but I just remember being in awe of that process, that like, oh, wow, these little songs that I wrote with my guitar now sound like these, like they came alive. And right, like it still feels song. Like that, like, every time I go into the studio. So I was super excited and had a lot of fun doing that. It was a really busy year, like senior year, like going into the studio after school and like I put on like a release concert, and, you know, there's a whole, they like had levels that I had to achieve for this project.
That's a cool project though. I mean, to be able to put together a whole album and then do kind of like the business end of it as well.
Yeah.
Like, okay, I'm going to book a show and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do the release. And what was it? Just, you can choose anything? Like, just give me another example. Who else, what would another senior project be? My school didn't do anything like that. Yeah. They were just like, we want to get these kids the hell out of here.
I think a lot of people would just do like volunteer projects, or it was like explore something that you might want to do after high school, or like volunteer somewhere and then you had to like write a paper about it. You had to do a speech. You had to, it was like prepare for college.
You've chosen, you got a pretty good, you did that one's works really well. You could probably just be like, and here's my paper, all my lyrics. I'm going to do my speech. I'm going to play some songs for you.
Yeah.
Knock off a lot of those. That's cool. So when you graduate, you moved to Nashville. Is that what I saw?
Yeah. I went to Belmont. I was like not wanting to go to school for music. It was the same as when I signed up for guitar lessons. I was like, this theory stuff, I don't want to do it. So like when it came to college, I was like, I don't really want to go to music school, but I want to do this. So what do I study? And I found the music business program at Belmont. And
but you wanted to be in the industry, obviously. Yeah. Or you wouldn't have probably looked at Belmont, maybe, or maybe you would have. But to go into music business, was your mindset just you didn't want to learn all the theory and all that stuff to like have an actual degree in maybe guitar or whatever it may be, and more the business side so you could continue your artist project? Like, did you know that you wanted to just do this forever?
Kind of, yeah. I was like, I don't know what else. I can't picture what else I would want to do at that point, or now even. But it was like I was always interested in the business side of stuff. Strangely enough, because a lot of artists aren't, or, you know, I just was really interested in that side of stuff and felt very like entrepreneurial, if you will. And so I was like, well, I could go get a plain old business degree, or I could, you know, go to Nashville. And there wasn't a lot of music business programs at the time. So that was like really awesome to me. And I felt like intimidated by the whole audition process for music schools too, you know, like, I don't know, just something like that made it too intense. Like, I just wanted to, I like connect with, like, music is emotional to me, and I didn't want to make it like technical. Sometimes I wish that I was a little more technical, but really I just do things and hope they work.
Right. And I've had conversations with other artists where it's, you know, maybe you don't want to have that side of it because you could come up with a chord or a chord progression that if you knew the theory and this and that behind it all, it's like your brain might not have went there. It's like, well, that note's not supposed to go with that note, so we can't try that. You just do what you're going to do anyway. And also I feel like having a degree in music business, if this is what you want to do, is definitely a level up than if you have a degree in guitar, because it's like, well, now what can you do? Try to be a guitar player, or, you know, like, or if you go to Berkeley to be a guitar player and then you get in a band halfway through, most of those people just leave because you've already accomplished what you're going there for.
Yeah. Plus I feel like it's kind of funny to me, like, that I have a degree in music business that I studied before, like, streaming was the thing. Like,
oh, that's a good point.
You know, like, I'm like, so much has changed, but at least I didn't know sort of like a fundamental level of the industry, you know, like it's funny to me.
Yeah, it is. I mean, anything in more of like entertainment or technology world, it's like it moves so fast. Like, I have a degree in production and communications. It's like I was learning about radio and television, and it's like those two things. Cable TV is like dinosaur, and same with radio is like this Jurassic thing that no one's going to care about in 10 years. And now it's streaming and the internet and this and that. And it's evolved so quickly.
Yeah.
But I'm sure you could obviously use that degree to, I mean, with everything you're doing now, I mean, did that help set the stage for understanding more of the full picture instead of, okay, I'm going to write these songs and then I'm going to try to find a record label or a publicist or do this. And then you got to find, instead of having to find all these other people to help you, you could probably navigate a bit more as an independent artist.
For sure. Yeah. I think I kind of wish there was like a independent artist class or something, because it was very strictly like, this is record label operations, this is publishing, this is copyright, but
right.
But like, yeah, for the first record that I put out that I made in Nashville after college was like completely independent. I did like everything. And then slowly over time, like built up a team of people that, help move things along. And it's nice to have that fundamental like understanding of each thing that they're all doing too,
Mm-hmm. Did you put that next record out? You said in Nashville. Was that something you had worked on while you were still attending college, or did you finish and then
actually I had already graduated. I had moved back to Pittsburgh. And then like, I guess it was a year later, I came down and made a record. My friend that I went to Belmont with was an assistant engineer at the studio in Nashville. And he was like, oh, you should come check the studio out. This producer is great. And yeah, I was just like immediately in love with this studio. It's called the Smokestack. It's in Berry Hill, and ended up making 2 records there and an EP. So that was kind of my like home base for recording after college, even though I had moved back to Pittsburgh. I was still
you were just commuting back to do your albums. Okay.
Yeah, I was sort of ping ponging back and forth.
What was your next kind of like milestone, would you say? I mean, obviously putting out a couple of records and an EP independently and doing that is massive. Was there like another big thing you can think of?
Yeah, I feel like so I put out a record in 2011, and shortly after moved back to Nashville and was there for a couple of years. And during that time, that record started getting placements on TV, which I feel like was probably a big turning point for me, especially as far as like actually making a living from music and sort of being inspired and motivated that like, okay, this might be able to work, I might be able to sustain this as a career. And that was definitely like,
that's huge. Like to have your song be played in a television show or placed in any like a sync like that.
Yeah.
That do you remember getting the first phone call saying, hey, Brooke, we want to put your song in blah, blah, blah TV show?
Yeah. I was working with this woman, Jess, at the time that she was pitching stuff to music supervisors. And the first placement actually aired before we knew it was going to air. It like happened so quickly. And it was like the next day I found out it had been on the show the night before.
Oh, bummer.
But she had called me like a month or so ago and was like, One Tree Hill wants to use this song. And then it was like, and then it was another song. And then so there were 3 songs in like the final season of One Tree Hill, which was a show that I totally loved in high school.
Yeah.
And
I remember the show.
So yeah, I definitely remember getting that first phone call. I think I was like driving through Illinois to like play a college or something and was like freaking out all by myself in the car.
That's cool, just to be watching TV and you probably don't know when it's going to come up, right? It's like, when are they going to play it? Where is it going to happen? And then it does. And you're like, oh yeah, that's my song. Like that's super, super cool.
Yeah. That was always like a dream and a goal. And then every time that it ever happens, I just feel like I won the lottery or something, because there's like a million songs they could have chosen,
Right. Yeah. And to have your song not only once, but what you said 3 times on the show.
Yeah.
Like they obviously liked it enough or liked you as an artist enough to be like, yeah, we should go back and grab her song, because it's worked before, or worked in the past, or
yeah.
That's really cool. So you put out from there, like what you had hold to the light was 2018. Was that after the Simple Fear? Was that the one that was getting the placements?
So
or was it even before that?
Silence Worth Breaking was the record that started getting placements. I put that out in 2011, and the placements started happening in like 2012. And then I put out Words in Your Eyes EP, and that also started getting some placements, but it took like a year, after it was out, or like, and then sometimes it'll be 5 years later and a song will get, picked out of obscurity almost.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And then The Simple Fear came out in 2015, and then Hold to the Light in 2018, and now all of a sudden it's 2022, and I have another new record.
Okay. So tell me, the Simple Fear, what would you say a milestone from that record would be? Does it sound like prior to that was when the syncs started coming?
Yeah, I think with The Simple Fear, I started getting a lot of cool press around then, which was really cool. But I did a session on Sirius XM, the coffee house channel.
Oh yeah.
So that was really cool, because you go in like New York City in their studios and record a thing, and it shows like your name on the big screen of like the guests that are there that day. And
that's awesome.
So yeah, that was really cool. And that was airing like a lot. Like they would play the acoustic live version on XM, and yeah, that was the time. That was around the time that a lot of people would still buy CDs, and so I would see like a lot of sales from it. So yeah, that was probably a big.
Sure, that's huge, especially now. If you sell like 6,000 CDs, it's like you're the highest, like number one on the charts.
Oh my god, yeah.
Well, you have the song "Answers" on that record, and I'm just on Spotify. I mean, it's massive and near 15 million plays. Was that something that happened or be around that time of the coffee house thing, or is this later?
I think it was like a couple years later. It got picked for a Spotify playlist that was actually called Your Favorite Coffee House. Had nothing to do with XM Coffee House, but that playlist has like millions of followers. So yeah, and that just sort of feeds whatever other algorithms exist in Spotify. And yeah, it's wild. I always joke that that's like the saddest song I've ever written, and it's my most played. So like if people like are like, oh, should I go to this show? Let me look up who this artist is. Oh man, she sounds really sad. And then they still show up. I'm like, awesome. Thanks for coming.
That's great. Yeah. You did an acoustic version of it too. Was that later?
Yeah. I think I recorded that at home during the, pandemic times. I started doing a lot of home recording then.
In that room that you're in?
I actually was in a different house at the time, moved just like 30 minutes away, but it was with all the same stuff, just in a different space.
Setting. Very cool. Okay. Going back to Hold to the Light, what was a big moment from that record?
Oh man. Well, I definitely started touring a lot more, and like played South by Southwest. And it's funny, a song from that record just got placed on Grey's Anatomy in the spring, which was like, 4 years after it came out. But
wow,
that was really, it's really hard for me to watch Grey's Anatomy because I can't do like the blood and surgery stuff. Like I just I can't watch it. But
okay. Did you watch it for that one?
Well, I
Maybe
did.
just
yes.
like headphones on.
I had a sleep mask on. And immediately, like within the first like 5 minutes of the show, a guy lost his arm, came off.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I was like, no, I can't watch this. He's holding his own arm, detached from his body, and I was like, I can't do this. But the very, very end of the episode was where my song was, and it was blood free, and
that's cool. Yeah. Grey's Anatomy is such a tastemaker show. Whoever is the curating the music for that show does such a like a lot of artists got their start because of a sync from Grey's Anatomy.
Well, yeah, especially back in like 2005 or something, like the Fray were like launched from them.
I know. Isn't that like to me, it's so bizarre that a television show like that, I mean, it makes sense because it has a huge viewership and everything, but to be a television show breaking artists is just so cool. And just like such a tastemaker show, and to be a part of that, you know, group must have been pretty cool in itself.
Yeah, for sure. That show's been on for so long that I'm like, I kind of can't believe that, you know, something that was on when I was in high school, I'm like getting a placement on it now, or, you know, it's just wild.
Right. That's cool. Okay. Well, so then the pandemic hits. I mean, a couple of years after that record came out. And what were you up to during that time? And sounds like you did, obviously. Answers came out, an acoustic version of that during the pandemic, but were you on tour or working on anything when the pandemic happened?
Yeah, well, I played a bunch of shows in like February and early March of 2020 that we just squeaked in before, like, I think my last show was March 8th.
Oh,
and
wow.
then like 2 days later, it was like, don't leave your house. So yeah, I had a lot going on for 2020 that did not happen because I was supposed to go to Europe in April for a tour.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was like I started off 2020. I had like, you know, US booking agent for the first time, a European booking agent for the first time, and like ready to like make a new record and tour and do all these things. And it was just like, nope. So I had to shift gears a bit. And yeah, I did a lot of home recording, which was really, there's just so much that I still have to learn, but like I'm pretty, I love home recording now. And then started doing a lot of writing for the next record.
Did you record this new record at your house? Like, did you produce and do it all yourself?
I started recording it at home in early 2021. I started recording remotely with a producer out in LA, and we would like send things back and forth. So there are like 4 songs on this record that I recorded the guitars and vocals like in my house. But after, it was just kind of cool, kind of fun to have that little credit. I need to like name my home studio or something cool.
Yeah. Do you have a name in mind or no? Just talking aloud right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just
you can workshop something.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was like a weird way. Like during the pandemic, it was like, oh, okay, well, we have to like reinvent what we're doing. And I started like thinking outside the box a little bit, and like, I wouldn't have ever started a record like completely remotely before. But it gave me this cool opportunity to work with someone that I didn't even know before, and from all the way across the country, you know?
Yeah. And was it over like Zoom like this?
Well, one of the sessions I did with a producer in Virginia, I was on Zoom with them and was actually able to listen to what was happening in the studio, because there was a band there that was like playing to my demo that I had recorded at home.
Wow.
And I couldn't see them all, but I could hear them. That was trippy. But and then with the guy in LA that I inevitably made the rest of the record with, it was like just him and I, that we played all the instruments except for the drums. So yeah, some of it was on Zoom, and some of it was just like a lot of Dropboxing back and forth.
That's cool. And so when do you start the record? Like, well, like, you know, pandemic happens.
Yeah.
Okay, now I got to figure out how to record, or I'm sure that took a bit of time, just getting everything situated. And especially since we all thought like, oh, we're going to flatten this curve in 2 weeks. And then, you know, now we're at 2 years or more or whatever. So does it become like, okay, this is something that's probably not going to let up anytime soon. I have all this time. Let me start writing a record. And is this something that maybe you're like, am I going to be able to put this out the same way? I mean, there's so many factors came in during that whole time.
Totally. Yeah. So I started making this in like February of 2021. Those remote sessions were like all within the same couple of weeks. And then I had like these 4 songs that I really loved. And once I was vaccinated, I ended up, booking actual time to go out to California and finish making the record with this producer out there. His name's Leggy Langdon. And I flew out in early August, and we made the rest of the record in like a week and a half or something. And then, mixed it for a while. And so it was a really different experience. Like I had never met him in person, and I flew across the country and but we had already had this foundation of like, okay, we know this works remotely. Like how will it be if we actually can be in the same room? And I think it was the first record that he had made like in person since the pandemic. So it was a really,
wow.
We were just like so giddy and excited that we like were working in the same space, It was really fun.
Was it like when you show up and was it like different? I mean, you get there, you had all these ideas. Like, I'm sure you had an opportunity to, obviously you're by yourself and you can write the pieces and parts and kind of come up with them and then say, okay, this is what I want to send over. But now you're like in person with the person, and it's like, okay, let's, bounce off the fly here. Like, do you feel like it was a lot different that way?
It was actually even better just because we could get immediate feedback from each other. Didn't have to wait for like the email or the text message or whatever of feedback. So like, it would be like, if he'd start trying something out, he'd like just turn and look at me and I'd be like, yes, I love that. And then we could move on a lot quicker. And we did it.
So there wasn't any like anxiety there, like, oh, am I going to show them? You know what I mean? Like you have more time to like marinate on it and watch it and then send it out, where it's like, are we going to gel in real time? Yeah. It sounds like that wasn't even a thing, like an issue at least.
It was almost like we had wished that like the whole thing could have been in person, because it just moved a lot, quicker and freely like that way,
That's cool. Very cool. And then you have some dates coming up in October, November. Were those rescheduled was that supposed to happen pre-pandemic, or because you're talking about going to Europe and then stuff happened and then.
Yeah, the Europe shows that I have scheduled in November, it is like, we've tried to reschedule that like 2 or 3 times and it just kept not working. Something else would have a new variant or something would happen. So
sure.
Fingers crossed that these will actually happen. And it's a little bit of a smaller scale than I was originally supposed to do. It was like more like a couple weeks. But getting to go to the Netherlands and Germany and the UK in November, and all the other shows are, just like supporting the new record. And it's going to be really fun. The little bit that I've been on the road since the pandemic has been like, wow, we get to do this again.
That's cool. That's cool. And you have the record's on vinyl, or you put it on vinyl, right?
Yeah. I love that.
Was this the first vinyl you've done or no?
Actually, no, I printed the last one on vinyl and then like retroactively went back and printed my other records on vinyl.
That's cool.
But I love the design process of putting together vinyl packaging, and the designer I worked with this time was awesome to work with and super inspiring. And I'm pretty proud of what
I love the cover with how just the artwork in itself is it's beautiful. It's awesome.
Thanks. Yeah.
So cool. And so I just saw a picture on Instagram. So like you have the records, but you're releasing the album end of September.
Yeah. So I have a couple records in stock now, and they're in the online store and all that stuff for pre-order. But I actually signed a record deal with Nettwerk Records early this year. So
congratulations. That's massive.
Just been planning this whole year on like, releasing a couple songs and videos and all that stuff leading up to the release of the record.
Yeah, with signing with them, was that doing it independently for so many years, like what changes when you sign then to a label? I mean, obviously the labels has amazing artists on it, like Mallrats signed to them and a bunch of different, artists. But like when you get to that level, what changes for you on your end? Just more support?
Yeah. I mean, just having that team around you, supporting what you're doing and like helping you plan and brainstorm. Like it's so many people are putting music out every single day. And so just having the extra support to try to reach the people that like music. And like you said, the community of other artists too. Like I played a South by showcase with some network artists. I'm playing down in Nashville during Americana with some other network artists, and hopefully doing a little bit of collaboration with them while I'm there. And
that's coming up soon, isn't it? Isn't Americana Fest coming?
It's like in a month exactly.
Wow. Yeah. Do you have that? Do you have because that festival is just so hard to follow. I mean, it's like there's so many people playing all the time and all across all downtown. Do you know where you are and time slot venue, any of that yet? Does that is that all out yet? Because I remember last year being like, this is so my brain was like an explode. I looked at it.
Because it's like all over the city too, right?
It's not like it's just like on Broadway. It's like all over everywhere, and then at all random times all throughout like a pretty significant time period. Isn't it like a week?
Or it's like
it's not like it's it's not like a festival where it's okay, I know at this time I can see Brooke at this spot, and then it's like it's kind of spread out all over the place.
It's kind of like the new South by Southwest or something. It's just insanity. The network showcase is on Friday the 16th of September, and it's like in the afternoon. It's from like 1 to 5. I don't know exactly where I am in that lineup, but it's at the basement.
Oh, it is at the basement. Cool.
Yeah, the original,
not the east,
not the east one.
The OG. The OG basement. Cool. Yes, awesome. I want to come cruise and check that out. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's cool. It's like one of those things that was actually there when I lived there, because it's changed so much since
I can imagine.
Yeah.
Like I said, I've only been here since February 21, and I've even seen so much happen. It's like, whoa, I can't imagine what people that have lived here for 5, 10, 15 years have seen like change in the downtown area. But
because I originally moved there in 2005 for school, so like 12 South, there was like one coffee shop and like that was it, so I just it's wild. That
is wild. Well, that's super cool. Like I said, I want to come out and see. I'm gonna look at this Americana Fest thing right now. I mean, I knew it was happening. It's just like trying to locate everybody. Awesome. Well, I have one more quick question for you, and I really appreciate your time today, Brooke. This has been so much fun. I want to know if you have any advice for aspiring artists.
Advice for aspiring artists would be, I mean, as hard as it is, just to put yourself out there, like, share the songs, play the shows, like we were talking about in the beginning. Like, that's just what I did, is just started. I mean, back then I was burning CDs, but now you can easily distribute your music everywhere. Just be vulnerable, and if you put your heart into your music, it's gonna show, I think. Bringing it backward.